My brother was killed by Israeli soldiers.
Because it doesn't matter how many Palestinians Israeli will kill, it would never bring my parents back to life.
El 7 de octubre de 2023, un devastador ataque de Hamás contra Israel dejó al menos 1,200 israelíes muertos y desencadenó una guerra que aún persiste, cobrando más de 41,000 vidas palestinas en un año.
We received the terrible news that they were burned to death and the entire house was burned into ashes.
I learned about October 7th from my colleague, Kim, who works with me. She's Israeli. And she told me right away that some of the people we know might be hurt.
Ellos son Aziz Abu Sarah, quien perdió a su hermano a manos del ejército israelí, y Maoz Inon, quien sufrió la pérdida de sus padres en el ataque de octubre. Aún así, dicen haber elegido un camino de reconciliación que busca construir puentes de entendimiento y paz. ¿Podrán encontrar la paz entre palestinos e israelíes?
My story with Israel starts since I was born. I'm born in Jerusalem. I'm a Palestinian. And I actually started throwing rocks at Israeli soldiers when I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I was shot at first time when I was probably 8 years old. My brother was killed by Israeli soldiers. He was arrested and beaten in prison on suspicion of throwing rocks at soldiers. And so I grew up very angry, bitter, and very much focused on the idea of revenge.
I was born in a small community, a kibbutz, what we call a kibbutz, just 1.5 kilometers from the border with Gaza. It was established by my grandparents. They were Zionist pioneers immigrating from Eastern Europe about a century ago.
Ellos son herederos de un conflicto histórico que ha visto acumularse la hostilidad, el odio, la venganza y el resentimiento durante 75 años.
And when I grew up, it was very quiet and peaceful. But then with the first Intifada and second Intifada and all the war that were waging between Gaza and Israel, it basically got wild. And it's not that people from Gaza could not get out and Israeli could not get in. We could not even see what's happening behind this wall.
You feel that the only choice you have is to revenge, that there is no other alternative. And for 8 years, that's all I did, was pursuing the idea of how I can revenge.
I had no Palestinian friends. I didn't know the Palestinian narrative. I didn't know the Palestinian holidays, tradition, culture, heritage.
Sin embargo, los caminos de Maoz y Aziz se han encontrado, abriendo su percepción a la posibilidad de una realidad diferente, una forma de reconciliación y entendimiento mutuo.
Until when I was 18 years old, I went to study Hebrew, not because I wanted, but because I had to. And it was in my Hebrew class that I met, for the first time, Jews and Israelis who were different than what I know. I've only seen Israelis as soldiers, and in that classroom, they were my fellow students, Jewish immigrants. They were my teachers, my Israeli teacher. And they were different than what I expected. My teacher talked about how we need to find a way to live together.
So I opened the first guest house ever in the old city of Nazareth, the largest Palestinian city within Israel, on the north part of Israel. And since then, I was working and partnering with many Palestinians and made many partnerships and friendship. I think we need to channel our anger and trauma and fear into a positive place. Otherwise, the cycle of blood, the bloodshed, the cycle of death, of war will just continue. As soon as I heard the catastrophic news about my friends and my parents, I knew that I must do everything within my power to end the bloodshed. Because it doesn't matter how many Palestinians Israeli will kill, it would never bring my parents back to life.
El 7 de octubre representó un punto de inflexión crucial para Aziz y Maoz. Enfrentados una vez más con la cruda realidad del conflicto, tuvieron que cuestionar lo que significa realmente la paz.
I don't think there's a way to heal the pain of losing your brother. I don't think there's a way to lose your feeling of despair. Even when you lose a family member, it's something stays with you forever, and you always wonder, what if he wasn't killed? Why was he killed? Why would a 19-year-old be beaten to death?
Hundreds of people, 100 Palestinians came to pay their condolences, and it was so moving, and it just made me clear that we are partners. We are partners for peace. We are partners for reconciliation, and we shouldn't follow our extremist leaders from both sides. We should be the leader.
La pregunta que surgió entre estos dos líderes durante la realización de TED 2024 en Vancouver fue: ¿es posible la reconciliación entre israelíes y palestinos?
But it's what do we do with anger? Right now, most people who are angry want to use that anger to hurt more people, to cause revenge, to promote violence. And my anger is exactly the opposite. I want my anger to motivate me to say, how can I stop this from continuing? How do I stop bloodshed? How do I end the occupation? How do I make sure my Jewish friends and my Palestinian friends, we all can live in safety and equality? Anger to me is like a nuclear power. It can bring destruction and darkness to the world, or it can bring light. It can bring us together. It can give us something good. So I'm using anger in a good way.
Humanity showed us that we know and can build peace and create reconciliation between nations, between tribes, between people that suffered and killed among each other many more than Israel and Palestine.